Well, directing helps in coping up with the changes happening in business environment. Before understanding this key importance of directing, let us first understand the meaning of what do you mean by coping up with the situation. When I say I'm coping up with the situation, I'm adjusting with the situation. I'm adapting to the situation. I'm managing how to handle the situation. I'm trying to take control of the situation. So simple, coping up with the situation means adapting, trying to manage, trying to control, trying to help yourself to do better in the situation. So coping up is to adapt and try to manage oneself. Now, understand that directing helps in coping up with the changes in the business environment. I am very sure you are aware that there are constantly changes happening in business environment. There are a lot of factors which are constantly changes in business environment. Now what happens? If organization has to ensure that the growth is always maintained, they have to adapt to these business changes. Let us take an example that how the business are changing and employees or the organization has to adapt so that they ensure that their growth is maintained. Let's take a textile example. Earlier, the textile was manufactured manually. The fabric was woven manually. There was always those handmade looms and used to produce. But with advent of technology, what has happened? Now this manual looms are started becoming obsolete and the machines are taking over and they're producing tons and tons and meters of fabric. So if the organization just keep on old traditional way of hand looms, then they'll not be able to cope up the higher demand, less pricing of these automated machines. So what organization has to adapt to those change in technological changes. So they have to cope these technological changes. Now, how are they going to cope with these technological changes? The employees will say, we don't know how to handle the machines. So, with proper communication, motivation, effective leaderships, first, the employees are made aware about the nature of the change. And then, making them adapting to the change, the positive outcome is created and organization is put on the growth path. In simple word, what is it? First, the employees are made aware, okay, along with hand looms, now we have to handle machines. So some part of the employees are trained to handle machines. Those who will handle machines will given these incentives. Those will be doing hand looms. If they produce this much output, they'll get these incentives. Appropriate motivation is given. Those who are ready to learn how to operate machines are given appropriate incentives. So first, it is being very clearly explained to employees that, okay, now, here onwards, it's not just the hand looms, it's also machine fabrics we are getting into in order to remain competitive in the market and provide a sufficient service. First, they are made aware, and then with appropriate training, they are made to adapt to machine manufacturing. So, with appropriate communication, dynamic leadership, and appropriate motivations, the employees are made to adapt to newer situations so that they can give positive outcome to the changing environments. Automatically, the organization is on a growth path. Another nice example is e-filings of financial requirements, or manual accounting to now it's tally-based or software-based accounting. So what has happened? Now if you do now software-based accounting, it's a real-time accounting. Any discrepancies are immediately understood. Otherwise, in order to identify the discrepancies, it used to take 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or probably months or years to identify the discrepancies. But now with softwares, immediately the discrepancies are identified, and it leads to what? Reduction in wastage, less time, higher efficiencies, and the organization become competitive. So automatically growth is ensured with competitive organization. Well, proper direction leads employees to cope up with the changes in business environment. Understand, cope up means to adapt, to help oneself, to manage, to adjust. is basically to cope up. So now, as there are various factors in business environments which are keep on changing. If the organization doesn't adapt to those changing factors, then the growth of the organization is reduced. So in order to keep the organization always on a growth path, the organization always has to adapt to newer business environments. In doing so, there are a lot of directing is needed, and directing plays a lot of role in coping up with these changes, right from effective motivation, appropriate communication, dynamic or effective leadership. Helps us what? Helps us employees understand the nature of the change, what kind of change they have to go through. Not only that, this proper communication and all directing tools help them adapt to newer changes, which leads to the better outcome. Automatically, the growth of the organization is ensured and the competitiveness of the organization is ensured, since the employees of the organizations are ready to adapt to the changes. Hence, directing helps in coping up with the changes in business environment.